Hello there and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. I hope you're all doing well and having a good week and a nice start to a new month. I'm looking forward to the month of June and starting a few new projects and jumping in on a few new challenges. So I just want to say a big hello to all my new subscribers and a great big hug and thank you to all my regulars that come back time and time again and are so encouraging and leaving me wonderful comments. Thank you so much for your kindness, and I hope that we have some fun this month making some things out of some junk. But before we get started, I just wanted to chat about the change of days. Now, for my regulars, you will have noticed that I posted a little announcement a few days ago saying that I was changing my days. So from the beginning of the year, I've been posting twice a week on a Monday and a Thursday. Well, when I came back from holidays, some of my regular weekly routine with non-commitments and work and a few other things had changed slightly. So I've had to reshuffle a few things, and now I'm going to be posting for the rest of the year, fingers crossed. I'm going to be posting twice a week as usual, but on a Tuesday and a Saturday. So that'll give you a new video for the weekend, which will be nice for you to be able to watch something fresh on the weekends. So hopefully that works a little bit better for myself with my new routine, but it works nicely for you guys getting a weekend video. Okay, I think that's all of the chatting about business. But you can see on my desk here I have some junk. So let's have a little look at what we're making today. I've got a few items of junk, and then I've got some new serviettes. And the serviettes I actually got while I was away, and I think I showed this in there was my haul video for new items. So I think I showed that a few weeks ago. And the serviettes are lovely. They're of fish, hence the name on my video today, Fishy Fun. And I'm going to be joining in on 2 challenges for the month of June. Now, one of them is run by Margreth at 7 Plaza, and it's called #JunkyJune. And the rules are easy. You've just got to use at least one item of junk on whatever you're making. So I've got a few bits of junk here for that. And the second challenge that I'm jumping in on for the month of June is ran by Susan over at I Totally Love It. And it is called Junk Journal Madness. And it's where you're making a journal over the month with a theme. So I will link both of those challenges in the description below. So what am I making today? You can see here that I have my fishy friends here. I have some old cruising brochures from 7 Seas, and you can see that I've already been using it for my prototype. So I'm going to be using some cardstock from some junk mail. I have an onion bag, brown onion bag here that I'm using as netting for my fish, and I've got a piece of cardboard here that I've already cut off one piece for the tag that I was making, but you can see that it is just some thin corrugated card out of some packaging, and it was for a diffuser actually. So I'll be able to use that as my tag base. So they're the main materials for today. Now I've got 2 items that I'm making. I'm making a tag. You can see that there's that packaging on the back there. And I've got some of the onion bag on it, and we've got some of the serviette on, and I've created a tag that is of some fish having some fun, and one of them is spotlighted. And here's the feature fish, and it says, "Those who don't believe in magic will never find it." And he has this magic red bubble around him that he sees, and he's moving through with his friends, and they don't have red bubbles. There's a few there that they could capture, and he's in his own little magic land. And the other thing that I've made is a hidden paperclip with some fishy friends that have been caught in a net. So you can see it's pretty cute and a little bit interactive. So they're the 2 items we're making today, and I'm going to step you through how I make them. So let's get started with prepping our rubbish and doing our card base first. So I'm going to start by cutting down this piece of scrap, and I'm going to make my tag 3.5 inches wide, which is 8.9 centimeters by 7 inches, which is 17.8 centimeters. And I have a piece of old retired Stampin' Up! Pattern paper that's got some wire on it actually, but it looks a bit netty. So I've cut that to 3.5 by 7 as well. So there's my base and my pattern paper for the tag. And I'm just going to glue that now together. And I'm going to use a mixture of glue. I'm going to use both glue stick, and I'm also going to use some art glitter glue. And the reason is because I'm going to be using water on this with my Mod Podge to glue down my serviette. So I don't want it to have any places where it doesn't have glue where it could bubble. I want it to have good coverage. So I hope you're all doing really well and are excited about the month. I'm super excited to be back into making things. It's been lovely traveling and, seeing the world. It's nice to come home to your little patch, isn't it? And, like today, I'm home by myself at the moment. No one's at home. And so I get a little bit of time to just play, which is lovely to have the freedom to do that. All right, now, serviette time. Okay, now over on my tray here, I have quite a few different little fish that I've already prepared. And you can see that I have separated my serviette and I have got out some of the fish. So for those of you that have never done that before, I'll just quickly run through it. Once you get your serviette, if you open it up, it might be 2-ply or it might be 3-ply. So we've got a few layers here that we need to separate. So I'm going to take that one off. So that's 1-ply. You just pull it off carefully. Now I know that this one's a 3-ply one, and I can separate that other layer. Now there's a few different ways to do it. You could put some sticky tape onto the back here and pull it up, but this one's quite easy to separate, and you can see that the print is really dark on this one, the cover sheet, but there is a imprint on the second sheet. Now I'm not sure whether the camera's picking that up or not, but you can kind of see there's a little bit of an imprint. I've been saving that because I'm going to put that onto some pages for the journal that I'm going to be working on for JJ Madness, and it'll have a very subtle fishy pattern on it. So don't throw these ones away. You'll be able to use them for something. And then what I do is, here's my main piece that I've now got. I just use a paintbrush in some water. Now I do have some water pens which are much better for doing this, but I can't find them. I need to tidy my space up because I don't know where they are. There's a few things that have gone walkabout. I just had a mad cleanup before I left, and now I don't know where I put them. And you can see that I've just drawn a water mark around the fish. And then if you just pull it gently, really gently, it will separate the fibers. And there we have our fish, and you can just put that to the side for it to dry. So it's really easy to do, to separate your information off of your serviette. Now, here's our prototype. I've got a few different fish that I want to use. I'm going to use this gentleman here. He looks like a gentleman fish to me. I'm not sure why. And then another littler one here. I have a ladyfish down the bottom. And I have a hero fish. Here he is. And he's going to be center stage. We might move him over a little bit further this time. And I have a little fish somewhere. There he is. He's going across the top. So I'm just laying that out so that I can work out where I want to do a stamp. And I have a circle stamp that I'm going to use. And it's out of watercolor shapes from Stampin' Up. It's a retired stamp set. I've had it for many years. And it just has these watercolor shapes that are very useful to use. And I've got some red VersaFine that I'm going to stamp a big circle. So I'm just going to load that up really well. And I want him to be further over than I did on this one and a little bit down. So we're going to go about there. There we go, that's good. And I'm going to clean that stamp fairly quickly. Okay, so now once that's dry, I'm going to stick down my little bits of serviette. Now, if you don't like how much there is on the edges of that, you can just wet it and take a little bit of it off. I'm not too worried about it because I think that it adds a little bit of texture here and there, and I'm okay about it curling up and doing whatever it needs to do. But I'm going to now mix up a little bit of Mod Podge, and I have Mod Podge Matte Medium, and I'm just going to put a little bit in my plate here, and I'm also going to just add in a little bit of water. Let's move our paperclip over. And I'm just going to dilute that Mod Podge just a little bit so that it's not so grippy, because I don't want to tear the serviette. So now I'm just going to put a little layer of Mod Podge down and lay my fish pieces into it. Oh, fish pieces. That sounds like something we should have for dinner. Our fishy friend. And this one over here, I don't want as much of him today. I just want him poking in here. And just be gentle with the Mod Podge. And our hero is going to go here. Now, I'm going to be really careful with this because the ink may smudge just a little bit. So I'm going to try and just glue it on the circle and not bleed it to the edge too much. Nice. Oh, sorry, I gave you a bump then. It's pretty fun making things with serviettes. I love that you can very quickly and without a great deal of drawing skill or stamping or anything, you can create something so quickly. Okay, so now I'm going to put that to the side and let it dry. I'm not going to play with it anymore. I don't want it to, tear or anything. So I'll pop that to the side and they can just dry carefully. Alright, so my base now is almost dry. It's still a tiny bit tacky, but I'm going to press ahead. So I'm just going to cut off now the little bits of tissue paper off the edge and shape the tag. Yes, so I hope that you all are doing well. I think this is about the first time I've had an opportunity to chat with you since being back. We had a wonderful time away. We had a lovely time with our son, and we'd met his fiance on, video call beforehand, but not in person. So it was lovely to meet her and her family. And we got to see lots of places around Europe. The exciting thing is that we're going back for the wedding, actually. So we're going back later in the year. Alright, I'm just going to put a mitre on the top of my tag. And you've seen me use that tag punch quite a bit. It's the very best trio punch from Stampin' Up. I think it's retired. I'll just round those bottom corners as well. And it's starting to look like a tag. Okay, now I want to do a little bit of stamping and put some bubbles on. And a little bit of clear heat embossing. And I'm just going to put a few bubbles around, some of them red and some of them clear, so that it gives it a little bit of shine. And we'll put a bubble here as well. Yes, that looks good. And I'm going to also put a VersaFine pen and just put a little bit of brushing some VersaFine just around the edge of my magic bubble that he's in. And we'll tip some clear embossing onto that. And the reason I want to put a little bit of gloss onto it is so that it looks like it's in the water. Okay, let's set that. There we go. I'm not sure whether the camera's picking that up, but it's got the bubbles and now got a bit of gloss to them, which is wonderful. Now let's draw a few lines on this. I'm just going to go around the perimeter with a black pen and just outline it. My grandson is going to a cross-country carnival today. He's super excited. He got selected to be in the regionals or the zones or something like that, depending on which state you're in. They're called different things. But he did very well in his school cross-country. And he's very, very excited about doing that. You can see that I just put a few little squiggles on it. There we go. That's looking good, isn't it? And now I'm going to put some of my onion mesh on. And I've just got some of the onion bag. I keep them all actually. You can see here I've got a blue one from something, I'm not sure what. It may have been tennis balls, I think. That one. This one here is avocados, and it's very fluffy and soft. So hang on to those. They're really handy if you're wanting some netting. All right, so what I'm going to do is just pull a little piece around and work out where I want it. Snip some off. And I'm going to have to glue this on and then press it. And while it's drying, we will do our hidden paperclip. Oh yes, that looks good, doesn't it? Let's glue that on. So I'm just going to put some art glitter glue around the edge. Try and get it into position as best as I can. Doesn't always go where you want it to go. Okay, I've got it on there. I'm going to put it to the side under a pile of books, clear up a bit, and we'll start on our next project. Okay, I'm back. I was actually gone for quite a while. In your time it was only seconds, but in my time it was hours because it's Thursday here today. This video will be going out on Saturday. And I do craft with my mother every Thursday, so some of you would know that. So I just did a quick craft session with my mum, and we made some Christmas ornaments, which was great because time to do some Christmassy things now and then. So that was lovely to do a little bit of craft with Mum and do a catch up, and she filled me in with everything, our weekly catch up. Now, I've made this into a fishy enclosed paperclip. So you can see that we've got a hidden paperclip in here. And then we've got just some of that onion bag for netting and a few bits of ephemera. So what I've done is on my tray here, I have cut out just a piece of scrap paper and a piece of card. And I'm going to put a paper clip onto that. Now I'll tell you the measurements, but the measurements are kind of a little bit irrelevant because it depends on what size paper clip you've got. You just need to have a little bit of meat around it so you can glue it. But I've cut it so that it is around 3.5 centimeters, which is 1 3/8 wide, and it's 14 centimeters long and folded in the middle, so that's around about 5.5 inches. But it doesn't have to be precise, and I've got a 2-inch or 5 centimeter paper clip, and I'm just going to pop that on there. Then I've got a piece of pattern paper, just a little bit slightly bigger than that, like just a slither bigger. The length I'm going to cut down once I've glued it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue the paper clip in, so you can see that I've folded in half the cardstock, pop the paper clip on, grab my art glitter glue, and now I'm going to give it a really good squeeze. So I'm going to take the precision nozzle off and put a decent amount of glue around it and pop that in, fold it down and just hide that in there. Do the same on the other side. Decent amount of glue. Give it a bit of a squish. Now you will see a little bit of imprint of the paper clip on the paper, but because I'm covering in the netting and some ephemera, it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to let that set for a bit, and I'll show you what else I've done in the meantime with the fish. So what I did was I got my piece of napkin and I Mod Podged this to a piece of cardstock. So you could use any kind of cardstock. I just used a bit of scrap that I had hanging around, and I think that it's around about 240 GSM. And then I let it all dry, but it's completely Mod Podged down and dry. The next thing that I did was I put an eyelet into it near its mouth. So I just punched a little hole in it and set an eyelet into it. So we'll do that. Okay, so I've set an eyelet into it, and now all I need to do is fussy cut that fish out. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little bit of a bauble around the eyelet, just so that it's got a little bit of meat for it to hang on. Okay, so you can see that it's like that. And then I fussy cut that out and put a jump ring onto it. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have any brass coloured jump rings. I only had silver or gold, so I'm going with the silver. And then I had them all ready. So you can see that here we go. Here's our fish that we're going to use. So that's pretty easy to do, to create your little fish. So we have our 3 fish and a jump ring. So now that this is dried a little bit, I'm going to just cut that down. Now let me tell you how long I made this one. I made this one about 6.5 centimeters, so that's just over 2.5 inches. And I'm going to round the corners on that. And I've got a little bit of my onion bag, and I'm just going to position that where I want it so that it hangs. I want it to hang loosely so that I can dangle bits onto it. So I'm not being precise, I'm just chopping a bit off that I think is going to work. and I can trim it down later. And I'm just going to put some more art glitter glue onto the top of our hidden paper clip and lay some of the onion bag into it and bunch it up a bit. I want it to have overlap to it, a bit of scrunched texture. Then wrap it over the other side. I might just cut a little bit of that off. It's a bit thick there for me. So now I'm going to build my hidden paper clip, and I've punched out 2 decorative discs for my composition, and I'm going to put the fishy on one side with the red. Now I got these images out of the Graphic 45 paper collection called Catch of the Day, so it's really old, but I love it. It's one of my favorites actually. And I'm going to pop that on here. I'm going to do it the other way around to this one, because this one might look nice on a right-handed page, and if I do it the other, it means that I've got a few options. So I'm just going to glue that on now. Generous amount of glue. And I'm going to have it sticking up the top a little bit and out to the side. And then I'll do the same on the other side, but I'm not gluing the 2 discs together. So I punched out the discs and then just glued them onto some of that scrap junk mail. You can see here I punched it out of there to make them a little bit more substantial, and then inked them up. And I'm just going to pop them on there, and you can see that I've left the gap there, and that's so that it can go onto the page. I don't want to glue the 2 discs together, otherwise the paper clip won't work. Alright, that's good. Now we can hang on our fishies. So I've got the jump ring on. Now unfortunately I only have 1 pair of pliers, and I'm just looping it through a decent section of that mesh so that it's got, you know, a decent amount hooked to it. It's not straining it. There's our fishy friends. I'm going to just glue down, now that I've got them on, I'm going to just glue down some of that netting so that they sit in place a bit better. There we go. There's our hidden paper clip with some fishy friends. So I'm going to now clear up and finish off the tag, and then I'm going to put some embellishments onto both of them. Okay, so while I was doing some craft with Mum and I had this netting drying under some books, I remembered that I should glue this down to that piece of packaging, that scrap packaging from my room diffuser packaging. So I'm just going to now cut that out. So let's do that. I've used a few bits of junk, which is great, especially for Junky June. Okay, so now I'm going to put an eyelet into that. So let's punch a hole in that and pop an eyelet in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of this mesh to create a tie at the top. So let's threadle a bit of that in. So some of you might be thinking, Annie, what's this got to do with Junk Journal Madness? You haven't actually made a journal yet. I haven't made my journal yet. I'm hoping to get to it over the weekend. But what I'm going to be making is, I know that for those of you that follow Susan, you will have watched her prompt list, and I think that there were 5 prompts to choose from. There was railway, there was postage correspondence or airmail, something like that. I think there was patriotic, because obviously it's coming up to July over in the US. And there was floral, if you pick a colour. And then there was travel. For those of you that have been around for a while, you know that travel is my super duper favourite topic. However, I didn't want to do the predictable and do a travel journal of my trip that I've just done, because I think, oh, you've been listening to me waffle on for months now about going to Europe and being in Europe and so on and so on. So I thought, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my favourite type of travel, which is cruising. So I'm actually going to make a cruising journal, and I'm going to pull out all of my memorabilia and bits and pieces of some of our cruises that we've done over the years. Now I'm going to make a journal that has got a cruising come maritime feel to it, which is kind of travel-y, but it's not cliche travel. It's a bit more of a deep dive. Now you can see that I put a little bit of twine just onto that, and I'm just going to put a little dot of glue onto that bow so it doesn't come undone. And I'm just going to drop on a few white splatters before I put the sentiment on, because I don't want the sentiment to get dots on it. And I've got a sentiment to go on it that says, attitude is everything, because this guy in his magic red bubble is pulling it off. He got some major attitude. He's like, I'm different than the rest of you and I'm okay about it. So I'll pop that on there, and then I'm going to just draw around that with a black pen. Then the last thing I'm going to do is put a few glossy accents on my fish on their eyes. So let's do that. And I'm just going to go into the darker bits that are like shadows and put a little bit of glossy accents just to add a little bit of gloss when you pick the tag up. Okay, so here we go. Here's our finished ones. You can see that these ones here are still wet, so I'm not going to touch those, but we've got a tag that I've made out of junk and a serviette. So we used old packaging for the tag base, and we used some onion bag as junk to do our netting. And I've made 2 tags and I've made 2 hidden paper clips. So let's have a look at what they look like in my favorites journal, because I don't have my cruising journal made yet, but that will be coming up. So let's find a page to put our fishies on. So there we go. There's our fishy friend in the journal. It looks nice on the page actually, with the gondoliers down the bottom. They won't be going fishing, but this will be going into my cruising journal once I make it. I hope you enjoyed that today. I will add those 2 hashtags to the descriptions. So there's hashtag Junky June, and it's run by Margreth at 7 Plaza. And then there's hashtag JJ Madness, ran by Susan over at I Totally Love It. So I will link those below if you'd like to participate in the challenges as well. So thanks for watching today. If you like the video and you like my fishy friends, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below if you like doing 3-dimensional creations like I do, and interactive creations, because it'd be nice to know what people also like making as well. All right, I will see you all very soon when I'm putting together my cruising journal for JJ Madness, and we'll be able to put our fishy friends into that journal once I've made it. So that will be coming up next week. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I hope you find some time to make something fun and new. And I'll see you next week. Bye for now.